And welcome back, loyal listeners and viewers. This is another iteration and episode of Game Chat with Tom and Lucas. I am Lucas, and I am joined by the always insightful and enlightened Thomas Hubbard. Tom, how are you doing today?
Oh, thanks, man. I was wondering what you were gonna go with there, and you did not disappoint. But we're doing good. We're chilling. We're chilling, getting through it. Another week, come and gone, if you will. A lot of good TV out lately. A lot of good movies on the horizon coming. Not been doing too much. Getting ready for PAX East. It's only 2 weeks away at this point. I think 2 weeks on the day, if I'm correct. Yeah, that'd be 2 weeks on the day
Mm-hmm.
PAX East begins. So I've been playing quite a lot of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe alongside, my Elden Ring and my Fortnite forays to try to practice so I can hopefully finally win a tournament at PAX East. But, haven't been doing too bad otherwise. What about you, my friend?
I am doing quite all right. Haven't done too much gaming this week, but last week I played my first game of Fortnite in about 3.5 years,
Yes,
and
we did.
we got 6 wins in a row, which was pretty surprising.
We were definitely getting some bots. We were definitely getting some bots, I feel.
For sure.
You don't just go on a run like that hard, like without having played at all, because I was in the same boat. I hadn't played much recently. I think it's all based on like the level you are in the battle pass at this point.
Oh, okay. So it'd be so even if you've racked up a bunch of hours, if you haven't like played much this season, it would consider you like a noob.
I think so. I think it has to do with the new, like the no build mode or whatever, but I mean, I'm not too
Okay.
sure because I just have not fortnighted until now since like 2018. So
Mhm. Well, we'll have to to pick up some wins against some real gamers. But that was a solid time, and that was with no real prior knowledge at all. There was stuff we were joined by a friend of ours who was more experienced, and he was pointing stuff out that we just there were llamas and stuff, so
Oh, I mean, I knew what
all
the
new to
llamas
me.
was because, real gamer right here.
Damn. Sorry, well, yeah, I was more of a PUBG man myself, but we can get into that a little bit later. But yeah, no, nothing too crazy. Oh, that car. So I was supposed to get a car this week, but now they're trying to jack up the price on me. So I don't know.
Didn't you already buy it?
Well, I was set to, but like the price that they had given me, now they're like charging me a couple like extra thousand on, and I'm like, this is kind of false advertising and kind of illegal. So
Sounds like some shady EA practices.
yeah, I don't I want to do business with you. So that might be a wait, but but yeah, I might be taking the old hunk of junk up to PAX in 2 weeks. So, but hasn't broken down on me yet.
Hey man, I'm wishing you the best of luck. We need you there, so I'm hoping for the best.
Oh, and also not to get your hopes up, but I might have a potential coverage, but I don't.
Hey,
I'll know Sunday for sure because I can talk to a supervisor and figure out how that would work. But might not have to sell that ticket. But regardless, we'll both be at PAX for a minimum of 2 days there. And for anyone listening or watching this podcast, you can keep track of what we get up to there on our social media platforms. That would be Instagram. Check out the YouTube channel. We'll see if we can try to get an episode going live at PAX. Should be a wild time. And if you like what you see, you can stick around and check us out, when we're not at PAX, which is a large majority of the time, Tom, I would say.
that is how yearly annual events work. Yeah, they come but once a year. But
Yeah.
yeah, folks,
So
we'll be at PAX. We'll be hanging. We'll be gaming. We'll be seeing the sights and doing the things. Definitely come look for us. We're gonna be wearing big old shirts with QR codes on them that you can scan to get to our link tree and get to our socials to try to, really promote some awareness of the Game Chat brand for all the gamers around the world who come to PAX East at this most wonderful time of the year, some would say. But yeah, keep a lookout for us there. It starts 2 weeks from now. Me and Lucas, well, I will be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Lucas will definitely be there Friday and Saturday, and our producer Bill will be there the whole time. And we'll be having some friends, people who have been on the pod, been on some streams before, also there repping the Game Chat shirt. So, keep a lookout for us. We're excited, very excited to go to PAX.
Yeah, should be a real good time, and yeah, we'll stay tuned for that content. But speaking of content, we got to get into the main topic of today's episode. But before we can do that, we got to round out the gaming week here. You see anything that piqued your interest this week?
Well, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga has been released this week. I believe it came out about 2 days ago. I believe April 5th was the release date. Yep. And that's looking pretty good, right? Last I checked, it's sitting at an 83 on Metacritic, which is definitely a solid bet for a Lego game. And then, it's piquing my interest, man. I used to be a big fan of the ones back in the day, like on the GameCube and the PS2 and such. So they seem to have drastically overhauled pretty much everything involved with the combat system, like leveling up. They've made it a lot more in-depth this time, and it seems to be, receiving some pretty good reception. So that's been getting me pretty hype. I might check that one out. But as we'll talk about later in this episode, there is just so many games in so little time. So if you people out there are playing Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, please let us know what you think. Let us know if it's worth it. It certainly looks it based on the reviews. So I don't know. What do you think, Lucas? You've been seeing anything about this?
Well, my question, which I couldn't find an answer to on the interweb, is I was not sure if the original two trilogies were
it's all
like overhauled for this game, or if it was pretty similar to the original game.
I'm pretty sure they did the overhaul for all of them. Like it's a completely new combat system. You can level up different abilities by finding certain bricks or Lego pieces, if you will. Mm-hmm. I also have seen a lot of tweets that look pretty cool that show a lot of combat in the game of Jedi Knights, stacking up some crazy combos that just don't allow people to hit the ground. So that looks fun. I saw one today that was General Grievous just absolutely unloading on somebody for a solid 2 minutes. The opponent was unable to react in any way, shape, or form because they were just locked so deep in this combo. And the tweet was what they didn't tell you was they just disguised the next Devil May Cry game as a Lego Star Wars game, which I thought was pretty funny. So that definitely looks intriguing to me. Anything with that kind of stuff, those beat 'em up high combo games, similar to how the old God of War games played. Always a good time if you ask me. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, it is all 9 episodes, all 9 movies redone. And I think they have characters in there from various spin-off and side projects and stuff. I'm almost positive the Mandalorian and little baby Grogu are both in there as playable characters as well, which if you're not watching The Mandalorian, what are you doing? It's awesome. Check it out.
Sounds like it's gonna be a pretty fat roster then, if it's all 9 movies plus just additional content.
Well, that's what I'm saying, dude. I just I don't have the time to play Lego Star Wars through 9 movies. That's so many movies.
That is yeah, and I already played the first 6, so it's I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Tough sell, but I'm sure for the newer generation, probably a must buy.
Yeah, I would say if you've never played one, Go out there, do yourselves a favor, get into some dope ass Lego shenanigans. I don't know if they have online co-op though in this game, which that seems like the biggest miss ever to me in what has otherwise always been a co-op game, like the Lego games anyway.
Yeah,
Very good for local co-op and fun, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Let us know, folks. Let us know what you think. Looks interesting for sure.
for sure.
You see any other cool gaming news out there this week, Lucas? Anything that catch your eye?
Well, this isn't exactly new, but I'm a butcher's last name. The former president slash CEO, I believe, of Nintendo has a book out that I guess describes his rise to power, if you will.
Yes,
So,
folks. The great Reggie Fisa-May.
oh, I misread the date on this. Oh no, this is very new. This I thought
Yeah,
this said March, but this will be dropping May 3rd.
yeah. They also announced very recently that he's going to be reading the audiobook version of it. So that will certainly be cool. Maybe I'll even cop that a good listen because Reggie is a great speaker and has a beautiful voice. If you don't know, folks, Reggie Fils-Aimé, very well-known figure within the gaming world, was first joined Nintendo in December of 2003 as executive vice president of sales and marketing after a pretty stellar career in advertising and marketing, working for companies from like Pizza Hut all the way to VH1. And he rose through the ranks, became not only a meme, but a much loved and respected member of the Nintendo and the gaming community. And I believe was the president of Nintendo of America for quite a while. I believe he worked at Nintendo for around 15 years, but the book will be coming out soon. Check it out if you want to see it. If you like Reggie, if you like Nintendo, it's going to be called Disrupting the Game from the Bronx to the Top of Nintendo by none other than Reggie Fils-Aimé. And if you don't read, you can listen to it just like this podcast, which you can find on Spotify, YouTube, and all major listening platforms out there. Just search Game Chat with Tom and Lucas and follow us on Instagram.
But yeah, actually, for this book, if you have a Barnes and Noble audiobook subscription, you get it for free. So that seems like a better deal than paying $27.99 for a physical copy and not being able to hear his voice.
That actually is a pretty cool deal. Them subscription services, man. That's how they get you.
It's death by 1,000 cuts to your wallet. That's the day and age we live in, There's just a lot of options, a lot of subscriptions, a lot of games, and too little time. And I think there's this we're trying to solve this issue, and that's what this episode is about, which is the now more prevalent than ever issue that gamers deal with, which is having too large of a gaming backlog and just not being able to get to those games. And we were spoiled for a little bit, for about a year and a half, 2 years there. I don't want to say thanks to, but kind of due to the coronavirus pandemic, we couldn't really leave our house, and gaming really blew up across the globe. And this was for people, that even were unfamiliar with games, weren't gamers before COVID, became gamers. There were just monumental revenue amounts for a lot of the gaming industry. Game Pass saw its user base double, like within a few months of the pandemic starting. PlayStation and Sony, they had their best ever financial year, despite only being able to sell like 100 PS5s, which tells you something.
Yeah, it was a very weird time where it seems like pretty much the entertainment industry at large was taking a hit and flopping because nothing could be made outside of things like, animated content and things that could be, made while people were at home. Whereas then you have gaming, which was the complete opposite. They, new hardware got released in the form of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Also, crazy big titles came out like at the perfect time, such as, Call of Duty Warzone and Animal Crossing New Horizons, that just like sucked people in droves. My girlfriend or my fiance now, I keep saying that. I'm trying to like that like comes and goes every now and
That
again.
all, some people at work were telling me that still happens when you're married.
Oh,
You're
really?
still, yeah.
Weird. Weird. I don't know. I like it'll be easier to say my wife. Fiance is just, it's like, I love the term. I just keep sometimes messing it up. But anyway, my fiance and one of her best friends both bought Nintendo Switches during the pandemic, specifically for Animal Crossing, because like millions of other people out there was nothing else to do but chill in your house and build your own house on a tropical paradise island and have cute little animals come and interact with you and interact with each other. It was even the PC gaming market like got a boost with the release of the RTX 30 series graphics cards. Granted, the supply chain shortages and the massive semiconductor flop that we're still kind of seeing effects for today had a lot to do with sales being logged up. But 2020 and 2021 were two of the most spectacular years for gaming in recent memory, and I like, the facts are there. You can't dispute it. Despite the rest of the world feeling very sad, the gaming world was they be eating.
Was popping off, as today's youngins say, I believe. But yeah, no, it was online gaming and online gambling. We're just kicking ass, taking names for that whole year. Which, yes, I used to work for an online gambling company,
You
which
would
was
know.
why I would know. But yeah, that was kind of the deal. It was just people wanted to play something in their house for the older generations. Maybe weren't trying to drop a couple hundo on a console. You could just download an app on your phone and play mobile games or mobile gambling.
Well, not
So
only that, but there were so many good titles, like I was saying, that came out even for people who didn't need to get new hardware. Like you said, Game Pass had a huge boom in subscriptions just because they started really, really going hard with the games they were adding to it. And then you have, a ton of games that dropped, like The Last of Us 2, Hades, the Guardians of the Galaxy game in more recent times. Like, the list goes on and on and on. Go check out one of our first episode of season 2. Actually, one of the, was that most anticipated games for 2022 that we did.
oh, our first episode of season 2, yes.
Oh, okay. We had done an episode of most anticipated games for the rest of 2021. It just never came to fruition. But anyway, tons of
Oh
titles,
yeah, that was the episode that we recorded and
and
we were
then
in
we
the middle of
lost.
editing and then my laptop shit the bed and we lost it. So and there
That's
was a
okay.
and then there was a long game chat hiatus, but now we are back and better than ever.
That's okay. But yeah, lots of stuff out there for gamers to intake during those years.
Yeah, and especially it was pretty much the two routes were either just buying a solo title that you could just play when you had nothing else to do, or the online with friends, multiplayer games, especially games like Warzone being cross-platform was huge. It was just as long as someone had an eligible device, you could virtually hang out and conversate with them, which was big.
Fortnite popping off, having all those concerts, like I blame Fortnite for the whole metaverse thing because that's where it really started, if you ask me. Other than like Roblox, but you know, it's there was endless ways to connect with people online during the pandemic, and gaming was a big one for sure.
And with that, obviously, was you didn't even have to buy a new game, despite all those games coming out. If you just had stuff you hadn't gotten around to, you were getting around to it. You had plenty of time to knock through some titles.
This is
And
true.
now, with a lot of mandates coming up and quarantines really being almost a thing of the past, people are out and about socializing in the real world, and there's just not as much time to get to gaming. And so now starting to build up some, oh, we'll get to it later. Oh, this will be to be continued. But when does that time ever come, Tom? How big a backlog have you accrued in the last couple months here?
I mean, as specifically with like these last like 2-3 months, it's been insane. Like there are like too many games across the past like 2 years alone, let alone the backlog of games that I already had that was building up that have just like added onto it and higher and higher and higher. And it makes me so sad because Elden Ring is just going to take me the rest of my life. I'm convinced. It's up there. It's up there. It's definitely huge. It titles like Hades, The Pathless, Kena Bridge of Spirits. I still haven't gotten around to Horizon Zero Dawn, let alone the sequel that just came out that also looks stellar. Like I mentioned, the Guardians of the Galaxy game that dropped on Game Pass recently. No fucking clue when I'll get to that. And that's me talking, Lucas. That's like one of the biggest like Marvel superhero like fanboys out there. I haven't played the Guardians of the Galaxy game. I don't know what I'm doing. It's nonsense, dude. I don't know how to get around to this stuff. What about you? You might have a little less considering you play the same like 3 games over and over again.
Elden Ring is really 3 games in one, time-wise. When I'm not playing Elden Ring, I'm usually playing something with other people.
Well, that's another way these backlogs build up, that multiplayer games.
Leaves little time to get to other things. And I also fell into the very easy trap of holiday sales. And
Mhm.
I got my PS5 in May and went however many months between May and December, didn't buy a single game. No games purchased in that time frame. Everything was either through that PS5 bundle with all the PlayStation hits or the monthly free games that you get with PlayStation Plus.
Mhm.
And then I bought 3 games in a span of 24 hours, and I have touched none of them. But because they were all, 50 to 80% off, it was like, oh, what a deal. I can't pass this up. It's not like these will definitely be on sale 12 months from now when I have more time.
I'll get to it eventually.
Yes, and of course, they're all very tedious and timely open world games.
Of course.
These would be Red Dead, which I already had on my Xbox, but I was just like, it's on
Red Dead
sale.
2.
Red Dead 2 and The Witcher 3 with all of the DLCs. And you know what? I don't even remember what the third one. I don't even remember what I bought, Tom.
Was it Black Flag?
No, that was earlier. That wasn't part of the holiday sale. I actually
Right.
forgot. I forgot I bought that, Tom. This is how bad it's like. Why I shouldn't have bought these games.
Oh my god.
But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
dude.
3 right there. And then there's definitely a fourth one that I just don't remember what it is. So that's a worthwhile purchase.
Well, there's just so many ways that these backlogs can get built up. Like you said, it's the holiday sales that come along. If you have multiple platforms to play games on, and even that is becoming less and less of a factor as more and more games become cross-platform. But having access to multiple different platforms just naturally gives you access to multiple different titles that you wouldn't otherwise be interested in. For example, I have a PS5, I have a PlayStation, a Switch, and my PC. So I have access to basically all the games, which makes it even worse for me, let alone these nasty subscription services that just like keep feeding you more and more content to play. It's Game Pass like bonkers. There's so many games on Game Pass that I've looked through and wanted to play over and over and over again. What have I actually played on Game Pass? I've played Halo Infinite, which is a free to play game anyway. So PlayStation Plus, you're literally getting 2 or 3 new games every month. Like it's hard to keep up, and even the free to play games themselves, like they just come creeping back in. And because they're cross-platform, you got all your friends that want to play. And it's like, oh, I guess instead of finally starting The Witcher 3, I could just put 50 hours into Fortnite and Halo and just have fun doing that. There's too many ways for these gaming backlogs to build up, let alone the fact that, like you said, life starts to march towards a post-COVID world. I say that hesitantly, as we are not by any means out of COVID, but the world is spinning either way. Time becomes less and less of a commodity that you have an abundance of.
Those 2-week quarantines where it was just, pretty much all the time in the world you're just killing time really at that point, which is now, outside of that period, really finding time was the major issue.
Oh, bro, when I got COVID, all I did was play God of War. Like, I would work and then like just press a button on my monitor and switch it to God of War and jump right back in with me and boy.
I mean, yeah, pretty seamless, right? Yeah, and people working from home. Your workspace was your gaming space. It was all wrapped in one.
It's all wrapped into one thing. Yeah. I think God of War is still the only game that I've rolled credits on this year. Granted, we're only like a fourth of the way through the year, but I figured I'd have at least one other game done by now.
You're gonna have to start clearing that backlog out, Tom. You want to get some games. Getting the credits in a game is really just a feeling of accomplishment.
Bro, I don't know. Like that's the last thing that comes to mind when we talk about how these backlogs get built, is just like, I don't know about you. I just have terrible self-control. And more games keep coming out that keep looking awesome. And I'm like, oh, finally, I beat this one game. I can tackle this other game that I've been wanting to play for months. But then I'm like, oh, but Tiny Tina's Wonderlands comes out in like 2 days. I could just start that and pay $60 for that. And that, my terrible self-control and impulse control makes it very hard to clear a backlog, because new titles that just keep looking better keep getting dropped, my friend.
That is true, and there's a lot of hype around games every year. I think, as hard as it might be, if you do have a substantial gaming backlog, it might be in your best interest to just wait. Whatever game you want is gonna be there. Many years now. I mean, you can get old titles today still. So if you got something that's been sitting on your back burner for 6 months, probably not great to purchase 2 new games. And because at least between the 3 of those, you're probably not getting to 2 of them.
But it happens, dude. That's how it happens. That's how I have games like Kena Bridge of Spirits that I played for 2 hours and never got around to.
Oh, you haven't, dude? That was months ago. I assumed you would just beaten it because you would stop talking about it.
Dude, you convinced me to buy Elden Ring, which was the worst and best decision I have ever made. Like, it's so good, but nothing else is getting done. Pokemon Legends, who knows when I'll get back to that. Like, I'm on the second area, and I don't know how. I think there's like 4 like boss Pokemon you have to fight in that game, and I've gotten 1, and I have maybe like 30 hours into that game. I'm almost like max field survey core level that you can get. You can basically level up to get 10 stars. I think when I put the game down, I had like 7 out of the 10, and not even remotely close to finishing. These big open world games, man, I'm a sucker for them. I just I'll dive in and do all possible side quest content before even remotely considering moving on to main story content, which means it takes me a long time to roll credits on these games.
Yeah, that is true. You still have yet to oh no, wait a minute. You beat the first boss, right?
I did. I finally went to Margit and took him down.
Did you one shot him first try?
No, I fought him like 2 or 3 times because I kept trying to use the shackle thing, and that thing's like next to useless. So, but I did it.
Yeah, yeah, that was not as helpful as I thought it would be when I
That's
first discovered it.
that's what I'm talking about, folks. Like, you just get sucked into these games, which makes all the other games you want to play and that you already have and may have even started playing like irrelevant, because you blink and suddenly you're like 45 hours into Elden Ring and have not done a single main quest line. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And these games just keep coming and they're not going to stop coming. How do we get out of this situation, Lucas? What can we do?
Well, I think starting by limiting your purchases. Maybe not buying anything, but just keeping a realistic, roster of games is a way to start. Just to not, because on if you increase your game in backlog, if you play one game and buy two, guess what? You've gone nowhere. So that's one way to start. As hard as that is, and
Wait,
I
what's
know,
hard? You froze a little bit, so backtrack.
oh, as hard as it is to limit yourself to maybe a couple games a year that are new instead of just buying a boatload of them. It really, you can only play a game so fast that the backlog is just going to add up. So maybe don't spread yourself too thin. That's really where you can start.
For sure. What else do you got for what are some steps you yourself personally have taken to try to eliminate your backlog? Like you got a few games over the holidays you said that you haven't even remotely touched. Granted, those are older games. Like, I know you have a lot of new games coming out. I know the podcast and us delving into streaming is like forcing us to try to like stay on the upkeep of what's new and hot, along with finding different games to stream. So like, what are some tactics that you yourself have employed to try to eliminate this backlog? Even though when I say that you have employed them, I'm mainly referring to the past, because I know since it dropped, you have touched literally nothing other than Fortnite, Madden, and Elden Ring.
Well, yes, that is true. True on all accounts. I would say I have this is the first time I've really had a backlog, because when I was a wee lad and got my 360 and was playing games on that, I went a period of, I want to say, like 4 years where I just did not purchase a new game, and thus got through all of the like 360 titles that I had wanted to get through. And that was mainly because,
You're a wee lad with no money.
well, yeah, the new consoles had dropped and I just didn't get one until they were already like 4 years in. But then I had like missed all the games. So I think I only really played Warzone and Red Dead on my Xbox One. And Warzone was that was like a 8 to 9 month ordeal that just
Oh,
kept me
dude, we
busy.
we we went ham,
So there was no need to
ham on
purchase.
Verdansk.
I was playing that more like, yeah, more than any single player title, which usually for me is the opposite, is the single player title takes precedence. And then whenever people want to play something, we'll bust something out. But that was, the height of quarantine and COVID. So everybody was always trying to play a game.
I used to be in a similar boat for the most part, because like pretty much like until I built the PC, there was not a lot of multiplayer gaming happening if it was a non-Nintendo platform. And that's the Smashes, the Mario Karts, the Mario Parties. Those are all taking place in person. I'm not playing a lot of online Smash or online Mario Kart, if you will. So like pretty much after high school, like console online gaming died down for me. So it was the same way, where I would just churn through single player games. And it was tough. It was tough for sure to get through some of these games, because there were a lot of huge ones out there. But I don't know, a way I tried to go against the grain. I always had a plan. I always had an idea and a desire of what to play next, if you will. Like I always had something in mind that I'm like, okay, hey, like once I get through this, like I know what I'm gonna play next. Whether it was something I had to buy or it was something I already had, I knew what was coming next. It didn't necessarily help to decrease the backlog, but it made it more manageable in my eyes.
Would you ever like kind of plan out your week or weekend in terms of budgeting time, like allocating time to X game and a different amount of time to something else?
Nah, bro, I haven't had to. I've only been like a real adult for like 2-3 years now. So before, if I just wanted to waste away and play video games for 12 hours straight, it was no biggie.
Well, see that, I mean, that is a great way to clear a backlog out. It's
The
just,
best way to clear your backlog out is be younger than 21 and play as much as humanly possible.
you'll be awfully surprised how quick you can beat a game with that method.
You know, there are definitely like proven ways out there, or I don't know about proven, but there are definitely like good plans of attack, you know, like there are good ways to tackle this problem. And I want to know, like, what do you think before? Because I have a whole list that I found that I actually thought rang pretty close to how I kind of try to conquer this problem. But I want to know, like, what is your ideal way to chunk down some of these games that you have? Because, you know, as we said, you have some that you've already stacked up and logged into your backlog. I know, like, pretty much the entire PlayStation Plus collection that you get just from having a PS5. I already know there's a ton of games on there that you would like, that I know you just haven't gotten around to. Like, you haven't even played Miles Morales yet, bro. That's like, and if you like the first Spider-Man game, it's leagues better than it. Like, and you got to get around to that at some point, because we can't be doing this where I just need to withhold information on that game from you because it's spectacular. And what are you going to do when Spider-Man 2 comes out next year, Lucas? What are you going to do? You just going to not play it? No. No,
Well, that
you
is
have to play Miles.
one of the ways you could get around a backlog is just watch it online, you know?
No, that is not how you conquer a backlog. Don't
You,
do
I
that,
mean,
folks.
you
That is
could,
absolutely not how you conquer a backlog.
but
That
you
is
could though.
cheating. No,
You
dude.
could. If you're not feeling like, if
Lucas.
you get burnt, if you get game burnout, right? Because there is only so much time. If you're just not really feeling it anymore, what do you want to chime in with here?
Can I just like I
Do
got
you just
some
get an
breaking.
update? Or is this a live breaking news on the Game Chat podcast, everybody?
So there's a really wonderful Twitter account you should follow. It's how I've managed to acquire all like 3 or 4 PS5s I've gotten and helped people got. There's this guy, Wario64 on Twitter, and he did a giveaway recently for this game called Weird West, which actually looks pretty freaking cool. It's got like a 78 on Metacritic right now. I don't even like, I don't know too much about it, but it kind of looks like top downy, like it's basically like a sci-fi western game with some top down environments. I don't even know much about this game, but I liked his tweet, and I just won a free Steam key for it. And now he tweeted out my thing because I won for it. So there's another game to add to the backlog, Lucas. Weird
Oh
West.
wow, look at that. That's wild.
Crazy, man. Sick. Sorry to just like totally cut you off like that, but I don't win anything ever. That was lit.
Dude, yeah, now I think if you don't get anything at PAX East this year, you know, no biggie. You just got a Twitter giveaway.
Bro, I really want to win some shit at PAX East. They give away some cool stuff there. Yeah, but you know, folks, this is another way to build your backlog. Enter sweepstakes. You'll win games and have no time to play them or even think about them because you didn't think you were going to win. So that's the breaking news. Thank you,
There you go.
Wario64. Shout out. Follow him on Twitter. He's got some great deals.
Yeah, you might just get a free game. Who knows?
Do you want to hear this like wonderful plan that I found for conquering backlogs online that I thought vibed with me quite a lot?
Sure, yeah. I think with something like this, there's really just as many suggestions as possible because obviously everyone's gonna go about tackling it a different way. So the
Of
more
course.
ideas, the merrier.
Of course. So this was put out by a wonderful gaming news outlet that I tune into every here and there, called Kotaku. But they basically wrote up this article that was titled "How to Chip Away at a Massive Games Backlog," and they dropped that in December of 2020. So apropos, right around the holidays, big, big time for gaming. Holiday 2020, as we know, as we've discussed. But they basically broke it down into a few steps that I pretty much vibed with. The first being assessing the situation, right? Figure out what your backlog is going to be, folks. Make a plan. Think of like, be your backlog be 3 games, be it 10 games. Figure out what you want and figure out how much time this is actually going to take. So, as Lucas mentioned, you can properly budget your time. You know, things like critical reviews, howlongtobeat.com, all great resources for this type of stuff. But then after that, the second step, which I couldn't agree with more, and I want to hear what you have to say about the second step, is start big, right? Let's say you got, couple of teeny little games and one massive, massive game, right? Let's say you got like Grizz, Astro's Playroom, like Bug Snacks, and then as you mentioned, The Witcher 3. So your backlog is 4 games. You know, everything other than The Witcher 3 is going to take you under 10 hours, give or take, to play through the whole thing. But The Witcher 3, over 100 hours, even for the main story and like some side content. But, instead of thinking you're making progress by chipping away at those, 4 out of 5 like shorter games, you know, sure, you're crossing these titles off of your backlog, but in all honesty, you're only really getting like 15% of your playtime done by chunking out those smaller games. You need to start big. You need to jump into The Witcher 3 and you just need to fucking go for it, man. You need to dive in and you need to really sink your teeth into it. And then if you're like me, after you finally finish The Witcher 3, or in my case, Elden Ring, you're like, damn, I've spent the last 8 years of my life in the lands between. Wonder what other games have to offer for me out there. And then you'll be so much more motivated to conquer those other 4 remaining teeny little games you got. And I want to know what you have to say about that, Lucas. Would you agree or disagree with this?
Depends on the gamer, because the other way to look at this is
That's a
if
cop out answer, bro. But go ahead.
well, no, for me, like I know I'm gonna do if I'm in an open world game, I'm doing all the side stuff. But if you have someone who maybe is not as committed, then you could knock out that cut that Witcher time into a third. And maybe it only takes you 30 hours.
The Witcher is not a good example. That game is
Well, whatever it is, an open world title you're assuming is a very large number of hours
for sure.
in total in terms of everything you could do. I don't know. Like maybe they'd be pressured if you start out with that. They might just be like, oh, let me just I'll just rush the story and cut my time by 50 hours so I can get to this other stuff.
Well,
Depending
that
on how long it would take them. Because you got to figure too, like real world time. But like 100 hours is not the same to every person, right? It's the same amount of time, but depending on how a typical week goes for you, that could be 3 months, or I mean, literally like years of time where you just it takes you too long, like 2 years to get through it. And by that point, you feel like you might not have actually made progress.
I mean, that's very fair. That's very fair. As we mentioned before, sometimes life just comes along and time becomes a hard commodity to come by. Like myself anyway, like the majority of my 45-hour Elden Ring playthrough so far has taken place between the hours of 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. on weekends. Most of the time I have Lucas in voice chat with me doing the same exact shit. So, I totally get that. It makes sense. But that leads me to the next step of the plan, which is frankly just learning when to quit. If you're playing this Witcher 3 playthrough for like 2 years, sure, it's the same amount of time, but like, are you really that committed to The Witcher 3? Are you really that committed to your bombastic open world game? Are you having that much fun that you're going to stick with it that long? You really just got to know yourself, know what you're in the mood for. And, if you're not vibing with it, it's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. You can dump that shit. You don't have to stick with it, because at the end of the day, the game is always going to be there waiting for you if you want to jump back to it. And part of another, Kotaku lists this as their own step, but I kind of added on to this one. Part of what makes that easier as time moves on is these gaming subscription services like PS Plus and Game Pass, because instead of dropping $60 or now $70 into a title that you might hate 5 hours in, it's not really worth, versus paying $10 a month. If you don't like this, it's just like, okay, boom, I got hundreds of other titles just waiting for me.
Let's see, that's the problem right there, Tom. Because now you have potentially hundreds of games that you want to get to, and that now you have access to. Whereas if you buy a game when you actually know you're going to play it, then that's really shrinking down the commitment.
I mean, not everybody knows that though, Lucas. Not everybody knows.
Well, listen,
they're gonna like a
I
game.
only purchase a game, and this, aside from that holiday sale, which was the first time I had a console that had like the store just like right there, ready to go, and you could just buy. I used to be a GameStop guy, and now it's just GameStop's just right there on your console, and you can just buy new stuff. But I would buy something when it was like, I'm buying this to play it like today. Like I'm busting it out right away.
Well, I applaud you, because you have more self-control than myself and thousands upon thousands of other gamers out there, because I don't it's a good thing to take up if you have the impulse control that you do, apparently, which is like, okay, I'm just going to ride with this subscription service, and then, I won't buy brand new games unless it's something that I'm like dying to play. It'll save you money in the long run. Or you can be like me, pay for the subscription services, and then still drop $60-$70 on new games that come out and never get around to them, like Kena Bridge of Spirits, Pokemon Legends Arceus. I even got the new Pokemon Snap when that shit came out, because I was like, fuck yeah, Pokemon Snap. I loved that shit when I was 8 years old on the N64, and I played that game for an hour and a half and have never touched it since. And I never will touch it, but I spent $60 on it. So if anybody out there wants Pokemon Snap for Switch, slide into my DMs. We'll do some deals.
This is the benefit of the holiday sales. You can get games for not full price.
Oh, this was not holiday sale. I pre-ordered this game.
Oh no, yeah. Also that was another point of discussion, is just stop pre-ordering games unless you're gonna play it the second that midnight hits on the day of.
I feel like that's an issue though if you like physical games, but I don't know. The final two steps of this plan that I read about was accept failure, in that just there's too many games out there, Lucas.
Yes, which is why you should only purchase
just like how
a game you're gonna play.
Cannot by themselves eat at every restaurant in New York City in their own lifetime. You're never going to play all the games that you want to, folks. It's just not realistic. It's not possible. Humans have to do other things than play video games, which is not, the most on-brand thing to say for a video game podcast. But it's important to realize that we need to do other things. And then the final step, of course, is skip Assassin's Creed Valhalla for now, because, well, you know.
I
You know,
no,
you know.
I don't know.
If you know, you know.
I mean, you just stay away from modern Assassin's Creed games in general, or just Ubisoft, just for that matter.
One of the quotes in this article was like, if you know it's like a Witcher or like a massive open world game, or frankly anything that starts with the Ubisoft splash screen, it's bound to take a lot of time.
Yeah, and probably won't be worth it if it's the case of Ubisoft.
Whoa. Don't disparage my boys. I'm a
Listen,
big
man,
Ass Creed fan, okay? But
I
I
was.
get around to it. I get around to it. That was one of the first games I played on my PC, was Assassin's Creed Unity, and it was awful, terrible. I wasted so much time playing that game because I did not, Lucas, learn to quit. So I need to follow this plan more strictly to get to the good Assassin's Creed games like Origins,
Like the
and
old
Syndicate.
ones, like the ones that came out 10 years ago.
Hey, I haven't I haven't heard bad things about Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, other than that they're just massive games. They all got good scores, great reception. They're just time sinks, huge time sinks.
A true fan of the series might not qualify them as real Assassin's Creed titles.
Whatever,
So,
man. Things
you know,
evolve. Things evolve. Things change.
or
Just like our gaming
devolve as
backlogs.
well. But that could be a topic for another time. I know some of our fraternity friends are very passionate on this topic.
Yeah, we should do a whole ass Assassin's Creed like retrospective, similar to Borderlands.
That could be a good time, and we would definitely have people that would want to hop on, and
Sure.
or just that could be a highly viewed episode, and
Sure.
you can find that episode just like all our episodes on YouTube and Spotify, and if you want to keep up to date with
And
what we're
most
doing,
major listening platforms.
most major listening platforms, and Instagram is always popping off, and you can interact with us there. Again, if you wanna hop on the show or pick a topic for us, you could let us know. All it takes is just a little comment. Just a little comment can or a retweet can get you a free game or an appearance / dedication on this podcast.
It's a world of difference, folks. We want some interaction. We want to hear what you got to say. Give us your takes, hot and cold. Like, that's another episode we could do. Just like argue the coldest takes in video games. I'm known to have some otherwise cold takes, if you will, but
like Frozen. Like couldn't even the sun couldn't thaw you out.
Nah. But yeah, please, folks, follow us on Instagram at GameChat_Tom Lucas. Let us know what you like to see. Let us know what you're interested in. Let us know what games you're playing so we can cover them. We're gonna start trying to do this thing as well, where we post like review roundups for new games that come out as well that we're interested in. Whether we ourselves get around to playing them is a whole nother story. Hopefully someday we have like 30 employees in our huge team, and we can have,
and they can play games for us.
Yeah, everybody
can pick
the games they want, and then just come on the pod and talk to us about what the fuck is good with these games. Like Lego Star Wars. Do I think I'll buy Lego Star Wars? Absolutely not, but I really want to.
Just don't give them your credit card info, Tom. Don't give it to them.
I have no control. I'm a sad gamer.
All right. I hate to end the podcast on as sour of a note as that. But I don't know what to close with now.
Go to PAX East, folks.
Oh yes,
find us there.
Let us know if you're going to be there. We can meet up. We can interact. PAX is always fun. And
Lucas has never been, so he doesn't know, but he will.
Yes, I don't know what to expect, and I'm expecting nothing.
You can
So
expect to play some Mario Kart faux show and not Sonic Adventure 2 battle, because the only time they're having that tournament is on Thursday. Because I have no vacation time, I can't go on Thursday, and I can't sing City Escape with a bunch of Sonic fans. So thanks, corporate America.
let's revolution. Start it up.
Sad gamer.
No more working, just so we can game at all times. But yeah, let us know if you want to interact with the co-hosts of this podcast, and we'll keep you guys posted on the goings on and what we get up to, and
Let us know
I'm
what
sure we'll do
let us know what your backlog is looking like. Let us know what some
how
of
you
these
clear it.
games
Any
in your
tips?
backlog are. If we've played them, we can tell you whether or not it's worth it, or maybe you just need to learn to quit, because some games on your backlog, if Assassin's Creed Unity is on your backlog, strike it off. It's not fucking worth it. I promise. It's the
Wow.
worst. That you can look up on Wikipedia or watch it on YouTube, but even that would be too much of a waste of time.
Wow. That might be the first Tom attack I have witnessed on this podcast. I did not realize there was so much hate for that game.
It was not good. It's not good.
Well,
I really thought it would be, but it wasn't. But yeah, that's it for me.
all right.
Good.
Well, maybe let us know, loyal listeners and viewers, any games that you highly dislike, and we'll cross them off all our lists together and clear that backlog out one game at a time, Tom. That's all we can really do.
And keep it locked to Game Chat with Tom and Lucas. New episodes every Monday. We're really trying to run with the streams every Saturday. It's still up in the air whether we're playing this Saturday or not, but that will or will not have already happened by the time you hear this. So that's okay. But
that will not have happened. Breaking news.
it will not have
Game
happened.
Chat, Tom and Lucas.
If it happens
by the time you people hear this on Monday,
it'll be news to Lucas.
It will be, yeah, it'll be news to me. I will have to go watch it myself.
Anyway, yeah, that's it for me. New episodes Monday. Keep it locked. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. And until next time, this has been Game Chat
with Tom and Lucas. Peace out, folks.